What a time to be alive. This statement captures the heart of this year's Youth Month. 40 years later, a date that changed the course of the country's history reminds us, the youth of South Africa, to recognize our power as the future leaders. My name is Mpumi Nobiva. Hello and welcome to Bophelong. Throughout the month of June, we will be bringing you stories of our very own unsung heroes who capture the spirit of what it means to be a young person in Africa. We begin today with Mpumi Nobiva's story. Mpumi was born into extreme poverty and often raised by her grandmother after losing her mother to HIV and AIDS when she was just 9 years old. Now at 23 years old, she is an international motivational speaker who has told his story across the world. Let's meet her.
Mpumi Nobiva is from an impoverished background like most South Africans. Our background as a young and vibrant nation positions us to be who we are. Mpumi too allowed her background to pave her a way, leading her to an unlimited destiny. This is the inception of a journey.
I was born into Zonkizizwe Township, which is based in Spruitview. I was born in 1993, January 8th. And my mother was really young when she had me. She was 17 and my father was 22. And my father couldn't stick around.
Her late mother tried to do all she can to support her family.
My mother tried to go back to school. That didn't work out too well. So she then decided to go into town, CBD, to go and, find employment. And there she tried to be like a hairdresser. I know she worked as a cashier. I know she worked at stores as a security guard until the last few years of her life, where she ended up in prostitution.
With grey hair there is wisdom. Mpumi's childhood was only fed with wise knowledge from her grandparents.
Before I lost my mother, I was always raised by my grandmother. So even when my mom was around, I stayed with Ukokwami.
Her grandmother doesn't deny the hardships she faced when bringing up her granddaughter.
Bokunzima ukumkhulisa kwami uMpumi. Kodwa ke ngasokola kanjalo ngazama. Ithema sezofikelela ukuthi uzoya e-high school. Ngandinewari ngazi ukuthi ndizothathani nihlanganise nani. Kanti uNkulunkulu uzakwenza icebo lika Oprah.
Where there is reason, there is purpose. Gogo understood her reasons for bringing up Mpumi, and the purpose unveiled itself.
Bokunzima endlini ngoba uye wagula esikhatheni bamsho 2 years. Kunzima sisogola singenanto. Uyazi ngihlanganisa nje ngenza ama-peace job. Njalo ke kwaze kwafikelela ke ukuthi uNkulunkulu amkhumbule. Ngasala ke ngisogola kanjalo ke ngiqhubeka kanjalo ke.
Losing a daughter to AIDS was not easy for the family, especially because Gogo had to raise Mpumi from nothing.
Le ndaba indiphatha kabuhlungu kodwa ke ndamkela ngendlela endabona egule ngayo. Ya nami ndandisenditsho ndithi hayi kunekuba kube nje uThixo angayenza intando yakhe.
Mpumi's story is derived from the truth she received from her mother before she passed.
When I was 8, my mom came home for a little longer than what she would usually come home for, because usually she'd come for like a weekend and then that would be it or something. But here is when I'm learning now that she was really getting sick. And the one day I came home from school and my mother, sat me down and she told me that she was HIV positive.
Her grandmother knew that from the passing of Mpumi's mom, she had to impart her with what she knew would work, religion.
Mpumi ngimkhulisele esontweni kakhulu. Yeah. Waqala esontweni bekena 2 years wakhulela lapho esontweni kwaze kwafikelelwa ukuthi uya overseas. Yeah, yinto bengimtshela yona ukuthi kumele abe ngumntana omamela abazali angenzi into zobustoti ahambe indlela ezingafanelanga. Hayi ngenhlanhla ke wamamela ke naye.
Having Mpumi listen to her teachings, Gogo keeps her faith and is proud of her.
Ngibonga into eyi-one ngoba uThixo uye wampha ibuclever oko eclever kwase-primary akazange afeyile nangeliyi-one ilanga. Ndiyambonga mna uThixo into akandenzele yona. Mpumi ndi-pride ngaye kakhulu.
She is grateful for her mom's courage.
She assured me that she loved me and that she had never planned for things to be this way and that she wanted me to succeed and thrive. So knowing that about my parents allowed me to forgive and heal.
Her mother's passing gave her a new leaf to live fearless.
Mpumi speaks about the importance of education, how education has transformed her life and opened doors she never thought would open for her. That is coming up after the break.
One other person has been shot dead and another is in a critical condition in hospital.
The CRL has laid charges against controversial televangelist Paseka Motsoeneng.
More than 1.3 million South Africans have been added in the past two registration weekends.
The International Monetary Fund warns that policy uncertainty could dampen economic growth in South Africa.
And all eyes are on the new Bok coach, Alistair Coetzee, who's challenged to keep everyone in the country happy.
There are no permanent enemies or friends in politics.
I agree with Professor Siepe fully.
Do people still preserve the meaning?
They have no clue what it meant to be black under apartheid.
Acting Police Commissioner Phahlane dropped a bombshell in Parliament this week when he suggested there could be a possible cover-up. What do you think of this story? What kind of problems were those, Vu, if I can just get in there quickly?
Every corner or sphere of our lives has become a site of struggle.
Watch Media Monitor with me, Alicia Jali, Sundays at 9 a.m. only on the SABC News Channel.
Welcome back. At the age of 13, Mpumi was offered an opportunity to study at the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in Johannesburg, an opportunity which took her to greater heights.
Mpumi Nobiva is one of the girls to graduate from the first class of the Oprah Leadership Academy. She went on to speak about losing her mother and how she survives as an AIDS orphan. Her loss was consoled by love and support.
I think the reason I've always been such a child who is able to just work with the situation is because she gave me permission into the narrative, and I never felt excluded, I never felt attacked, even though like it was painful to go through everything that we went through and everything that I went through as an only child and approaching like being an orphan. I think that I'm just grateful. I know for a fact that the reason that I'm who I am today is because my mom took a tough decision to own up to her mistakes. I mean, at some point she had said she wanted me to make different and better decisions to what she had made. And so even though I was young, I sat there and listened as though I understood, and she spoke to me as though she understood, right?
Delving deep to losing her mother, Mpumi explains her most challenging moments she faced.
It was very hard because I was only 8 and my grandmother was in her 50s and she's illiterate, so sometimes we'd really want to help my mom, but we wouldn't understand. We wouldn't understand how to help her or like what's going on, because when a person is HIV positive, they can have so many different illnesses. So medication that worked 2 weeks ago might not work anymore, might not be strong enough because now she's got bronchitis or she's got TB and that sort of thing. So it was hard.
Much attention into this?
Today, she shares her story on various media platforms. Invited to UJFM to share her story, she shares her sentiments on what kept her going.
My grandmother has always been such a dedicated person. She's always worked hard and she's never made any excuses in life, you know? And I think that sort of spirit, that tenacity allowed me to always understand that it's going to be okay. I think if my grandmother had given up, I would have given up.
She was admitted to the Oprah Leadership Academy and she describes how she got through.
When we got to the application phases, we had different stages. The first phase was when they sent representatives to our school, where those representatives would come and give us forms to fill in. Here you'd fill in your basic and primary information and then write an essay about where you see yourself and then draw your dream house. And I remember I drew a house with 2 swimming pools because one would be mine and one would be my grandmother's, which is so funny.
The process was very lengthy, but Mpumi passed every selection stage.
We were taken to like a site where all the other girls would be there and we took different tests. So like aptitude tests, math tests, science, all of that good stuff. And then for the final interview, we were told that, okay, so this interview is really hard. You can't prepare for it. You can't study for it. You just have to be at a certain place and time for the final stage. And I remember calling my gran, telling her how nervous I was, because usually if you can study for something, then you can use that to sort of, make yourself feel better about being in a very, very selective and really rigorous application process. And then the last stage of the application phase, we were at St. John's Boys' School, St. John's College, and we didn't know this, but we were sitting in a room where it was myself and multiple other girls that go based on the alphabet of your surname. And I remember waiting so impatiently, like trying to figure out what on earth is on the other side of this door, because there was a door that everybody would walk into. And they wouldn't come out the same way. And that used to frustrate me because I would just be like, why on earth isn't anybody coming back this side? I need to know what's happening. So eventually my time came, and when I went in, it was Mom Oprah. She was sitting in a big chair with like big gold fluorescent lights, and she had some of her crew there with her. And oh my gosh, I was just like, whoa, that's Oprah Winfrey, like what? It was so unreal.
She graduated from the academy with flying colors.
I think the school had prepared us really well for the world. You know, the Oprah Academy really prepares you to be a global citizen. You go through high school knowing that there's a whole world out there, there's a whole lot of opportunity out there, there's a whole lot of access. So by the time I got into the United States, I understood that I was in a place where I could really work hard to make my dreams come true.
She was then admitted to the Johnson C. Smith University, where she also made an undeniable mark.
I remember arriving in the United States and making a very distinct decision like that. I would be true to who I was. Before I went to the United States, I spoke for the first time at the Oprah Academy, where I shared my story, and I wanted that to be a part of who I would be. I wanted to continue sharing my story, and I wanted to continue paying tribute to who I am, where I was raised, how I lost my mother to poverty. And when I got to the United States, I made that a mandate thing.
Oprah, being a mother figure to her now, surprised her at a graduation ceremony.
When we found out that Mom Oprah would be speaking at the commencement of our graduation, Johnson C. Smith, on May 15th, we were absolutely just in awe of this woman's love, her dedication to our success, and how she's always been so supportive. Mom Oprah is not the kind of person who tells you what to be or who you should be. She gives you the skill set and the moral compass to be who God wants you to be.
With all she has achieved now, Mpumi came back to thank her grandmother for bringing her up to be the woman she has become. She invited everyone that contributed to her life.
In one of her media interviews, Mpumi speaks about the common causes that connect us as South Africans. Her losing her mother to HIV and AIDS meant that she could share her story with others and people could relate to it. Time now for a short break. Bophelong returns shortly.
What's wrong with Triple M? What is illegal here? Who is being defrauded here, Trevor?
It is about the best interest of the citizens of this country.
But the citizens are the ones who are playing, who are members or participants in this. If you put in 15,000 rand, after 12 months you get 1.2 million rands. I mean, who wouldn't go for this?
Watch Question Time with me, Mpumi, Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on the SABC News Channel.
Why are electoral systems important in a democracy?
We think of democracy as voting people into office. The other side of the coin is that we would be more empowered and more accountable in politics if we could do the opposite, is vote them out when they don't deliver.
Politics is about who gets what, when and how.
If you look up on the internet as to how the head of state is chosen, it says monarchy.
We should not refer to an election as a contest.
So we should not shy away from the fact that an election is a contest. Of course, I do admit that it's not a bloody contest, or it shouldn't be a bloody contest.
It shouldn't be a bloody contest.
Fight and, of course, and
it should also not be a beauty contest.
Then it shouldn't be also a beauty contest either.
Swiss people, for example, can travel internationally with a cantonal passport, not even a national one. That's like us traveling on a Free State passport, for example.
Welcome back to Bophelong. Despite being disadvantaged at the start of her life, her grandmother, a domestic worker, struggling to make ends meet, Mpumi never lost grip of her dreams. Let's have a look.
Miss Oprah Winfrey is not only known as a television host, she's a philanthropist and has a passion for empowering the youth. In 2007, she opened up a girls' academy and has since changed the lives of many. This is what she said to encourage the girls.
And I said to them, you know, matric is the least of your worries. You are going to pass matric. And the very idea of coming to the school means that you no longer have a bar that is set for you. There is no bar. You are children born in the year that Nelson Mandela was freed, apartheid ended. You are children of a free South Africa. Just the fact that you were born at that time means that the world opened up in ways that were impossible to everybody who was born before you. And so you are not just here to come to a school and pass matric. Good God, my expectation for you, which is the problem as I see it around the world when people are working with children who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, they assume that because you live in, a small space and you don't have a lot of things in your life, that you are also lacking in your brain power. Well, I was out to prove that theory wrong. That just because you come from difficult circumstances, it does not mean that you have a difficult mind, that you don't have the same abilities and skills and values as everybody else in the world. And that is why this is such a victory, because we have proven what an African, black African, colored African, white African woman can do and be.
Mpumi Nobiva opened up to the world, and what separates her story from the rest is that she stands in her truth.
If I don't share my story, if I don't own up to my truth, if I don't use these platforms to raise awareness, then how will other young women who are facing those statistics right now know that it's possible to make better decisions? How will they know that as hard as education may be and as huge of a commitment as it is, it's possible to use that education as a tool that will add value to who you are as a person, and that being an orphan or coming from poverty or having seen what HIV and AIDS does to a person that you love takes nothing away from you. In fact, it adds, because it means that you are part of a selective few who have had to face a very, very marginalized struggle.
She launched a campaign, Share Your Story, and the world embraced her story.
I did talks in Menenberg, which is an area that is facing a lot of gang violence in Cape Town. I did talks in a couple of schools there. I did talks in Johannesburg. I did talks at Stellenbosch with some of the Oprah girls and my sisters who were there. I took it to Joburg. I went to the Oprah school with it, and then I took it to the United States. And from there on, the world just started opening up.
The world is in all aware of Mpumi, as her talks didn't only spread around the USA, but across the globe.
I did a talk in Arlington where the school district had invited me to speak to all the schools, which is highly unheard of, where a school district in the United States will pay for somebody's travel and accommodation to come and talk to their children. And then after that, I continued to take it across various parts of Charlotte, where I was based for school. And with me, like, it's not even like a matter of, oh, it's a campaign, I do corporate only. I will speak to whether it's one person, whether it's a group of children, whether it's a church or a school. And the opportunities really opened up last year when I had the opportunity to go to Toronto and take my campaign there.
What were you thinking you could?
Now being the leader of her destiny, she continues to learn.
One of my biggest lessons that I've learned from Mom Oprah is that when you do the right thing, especially when everybody else is wrong or when nobody else is looking, that's when it matters most.
Mpumi's willpower continues to amaze us. She was selected as an ambassador for Relate. This organization supports over 65 different causes. This is what Relate is all about.
This esteemed organization that is based in Cape Town. I have such great admiration and respect for Relate Bracelets organization, because it started as recently as 2010, but they have raised revenues in the millions, and they have this transparency model that allows people like my grandmother, people like my siblings who are maybe in a transitional stage of their education to use this project where they make beads that are sold at different outlets like Clicks and Protea Hotel locations. They get money in real time. Whenever a purchase is made, they get a third of that. And I liked that model because I thought, well, outside of just waking up, I guess I can know for a fact that by being an ambassador for this organization and by working there, I get to actually make a difference in real time.
More and more accolades were presented to her.
I got a couple of honors and awards this year from my classmates. I got inducted into the Who's Who among students in American colleges and university honor society, which Oprah Winfrey is a part of as well, so it was really cool. I got an award from a foundation based in Charlotte called Gabe's Big Heart Foundation, and I got a Big Heart Award for humanitarian efforts in the city of Charlotte. And that's just such a humbling and great honor to be able to learn that lesson that, you know, life is reciprocal, life is cyclical. What you put in is what you get out. It's just the law of motion.
With the story turning out the way it did, Mpumi appreciates life for everything it presented her with.
Being an orphan, in my opinion, is very hard, is very challenging. But for me, I've reached a point where it's a privilege. It's something I wear with honor, in the same way that if a soldier goes to war and they come back with an amputated leg, that's an honor, because it means you went into a battlefield, you fought, you gave it everything you have, and now it's part of who you are. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
She's a force to be reckoned with at only 23.
At 23, I'd say it's such a great honor to receive that sort of validation, to know that despite the fact that the world is seeing, or that the world is responding, but the fact that I'm able to just touch lives in just the truth of who I am, I think that's definitely worth living for.
She is a proud graduate and can't wait to come back to South Africa after completing a master's to serve.
Ndandingazi ukuthi ndiyothathani ngihlanganise nani. uThixo waveza uOprah. uOprah wabasoloko esecaleni kwethu ekuthwele kuze kube namhlanje sisathwelwe nguye. Ndiyambonga uThixo ngenqeba zakhe akazenzile. Ndiyazigabisa ngawe. Ndipride. Ufunde ude amaphupha wakho afezeke. Ngiyabonga.
The gogo is so sweet. As we commemorate the day with different events that will be taking place across the country this coming week, let the youth of South Africa be reminded to take the power that we possess to tackle the issues that affect us. Nothing about us without us. Thank you to Mpumi for demonstrating to the world what we are capable of. Goodbye, Africa.